with regards to happy and sad, no, it's more stress. Like if I'm like, I have like all these things and then I'm like, I need a moment and I haven't created that moment in the day of like soothing, relaxing music, working out, something, then I'm like, where are the cookies for my kids?
So I just had a patient today and we were talking about the holidays, and it's like there's this fear of, oh my gosh, how am I gonna like keep myself from gaining weight because there's more social stuff going on. Even at work, there's more treats and stuff available. There's more social gatherings. Like, what the heck do we do? So today, Dr. Tanya Wild and myself, we're gonna go into a deep dive and talk about all the tools and tips that you can do and tricks that we ourselves use so that you don't have to worry, and maybe we can prevent some weight gain and maybe even add in some weight loss. Like, wow, that'd be kind of crazy.
Right? And not wait until January to follow your New Year's resolutions. Start them now so that when it comes time to January, you can say, yes, I've already done that. Now I'm going to add another one, or you're feeling so good and you're in a groove. Have this outstanding patient this week. It was so fun to see her in this amazing groove, actually not just, maintaining weight right now through this holiday season where there's treats available. She was dropping weight. And I think the biggest thing for her was just finding something that she was going to look forward to outside of family and work routine, something that lifted her up so that she wasn't then turning to food for her. We often talk about it, her dopamine, like her little joy reward chemical. So it was so exciting for me to see, because although we've made big changes in her life and leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, this is like, the biggest, like it's solid. She's, and that one thing is, guess what? Starting a podcast.
Get it out.
So, yes.
That's awesome,
So
right?
culturally appropriate for her podcast about, living in her, she's Indian background. And just like the life of living as a woman with PCOS and being Indian, having Indian culture. And so just so fascinating that she's so excited to be then sharing and having listeners. And then that's her dopamine. So then she's more able to create this routine. So that is what sparked our conversation earlier, where you're like, yeah, my patient's like, how do I do this? How do I make sure I don't gain weight with all the peer pressure? And, misery loves company, right? It's like, if you're going to not eat treats, do I avoid treats too? Or do we enjoy treats together? How do we do this? How do we stay healthy and have a little bit of flexibility as well? So one of the things you can do, number one, is treat yourself outside of food. So find what that is. And it might not be overnight, but look for it.
Right. So in her case, then it was this something that she was passionate in. I love that. And when you're passionate, as you say, you have that dopamine hit so that you feel good, because when we feel bad, or I don't know about you, but sometimes it's like I can, like, food is a trigger, meaning like, whatever is happening, whether I'm bored or excited or happy or sad or angry, it's like I'll turn to food because that's an easy thing to do to treat myself.
For sure. For me, it's not boredom, because I don't ever find, I don't know if it's just me, I never have, I feel like the time factor. And I feel like that's probably not accurate for you, because you're so busy. I know you're always like on. So I feel like boredom, no. I feel like with regards to happy and sad, no, it's more stress. Like if I'm like, I have like all these things and then I'm like, I need a moment and I haven't created that moment in the day of like soothing, relaxing music, working out, something, then I'm like, where are the cookies for my kids?
Right.
I need cookies. So yeah, it's stress for sure. So I work really hard, and always it's nice to actually have patients to be constantly reminding them, because it's a constant self-reminder. Like, where are you getting your stress management from? So for me, also, I love physical touch. So I'll go for an acupuncture treatment or book a massage if I know I'm kind of breaking and I'm getting to that point. Because as you know, I'm sandwiched between mom with Alzheimer's and kids and, and single parenting and all that kind of stuff. So it's like busy. So there are times when I'm like, where are the cookies? But I feel like the further I stay away from sugar, the easier, and the built-in stress management. So maybe you can speak to that piece a little bit because I know Alive offers that. Um, I'm sure people book all the time for stress management,
Mm,
treatments like massage therapy, and I see like the gua sha and right. So maybe you can
yes.
talk to that a little bit.
Well, it is so true because when we're super stressed, it's very easy to turn to food as comfort. And it's like you're looking at it as a way to fill a void or fill something when you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can handle it. So I'm just going to go to some sugar and maybe it'll give me a little pick me up, which is actually counterintuitive because it really doesn't give you, like, it might give you a little spike, but then right after that, you are crashing and then you'll just want more. So you're going to go down this vicious cycle. So what do? When you're super relaxed, doing something like acupuncture. So I'm not going to lie. For me, acupuncture is I call it, it's like part of my life because what we know is that it definitely triggers the whole parasympathetic nervous system. So when we're talking about stress, what happens? It's that fight or flight and freeze scenario, and our body is wired for that, and it's appropriate when appropriate. If you're running from a tiger, absolutely, you don't have to think, you just run. But the thing is, our stress is relentless, as you mentioned. Oh, between your mother and your kids, or if you don't have kids, it's like trying to conceive, or work stress and juggling 1,000 things at
Or
once,
studying.
or
Like, let's
studying.
add in some more education, right?
Yes, and I see, don't
Yeah.
we see that all the time? And
Mhm.
people that are working full time too, it's like, oh yeah, I need to like get something else done. Oh, I need to like level up and I want to get another position. So you do more, pull in more hours. And that's not helpful. And what we can do is
Well, it's
when
helpful from a position move perspective as long
yes,
as you have the balance, right?
yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah.
Well, you know what? And speaking to balance, there's no real such thing as like balance 24/7.
Oh, no, and you have to force it in. Like, it's not like, it just happens naturally. It's like you have to take from somewhere. Actually, I was gonna ask you, where do people take from? But you keep going first, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's great because how do we add in something like acupuncture that you actually have to go to and massage therapy but the gua sha and cupping, you can actually buy the tools and do it yourself, right? So that's at home. But I also know when people are busy, they're not doing it at home. So really at the end of the day, it's way better to go outsource it for your treatments and take that moment. And even if you're commuting, you can be efficient and effective. Take some meetings or calls during that time so that really literally, like, if you have that hour to do your refresh with the treatments, then you can still be efficient, right? And I'm going to even add in, when you're more relaxed, when you go back to work and you're engaged with work, you're going to be more effective and efficient because your brain will be bang on and focused so you can hammer out whatever you need to do, versus if you're like working 16 hours a day and you think that time is going to be what you need to get things done. It's like, that's not so true. You wanted to add into that. I can
You
see you're
lose
saying
yeah, you lose efficiency if you're just constant, right? You need that break so that you get excited you get a break in your brain, and then you're more efficient and you have more ideas, you're more creative, you can produce. So breaks are important, but then also having that break in your mind ahead of time, like knowing, oh, I'm going to go for a massage. You're more efficient too because you have some like a reward at the end. That's not cookies,
yes.
and like you're like, okay, this is something that's going to be so nourishing for me, and I'm going to feel like I have like a reset so that I can come back to work. So you're excited for it, you're building it up in your head, and then on the other end, you can come back to work more relaxed and more focused.
Yes, and
So,
without the cravings. And honestly, when you're getting the treatments, you can't eat anyway.
right, yeah.
So
Well, you come home and you're in your parasympathetic nervous system state, you get your work done effectively. And then another thing we were going to talk about is sleep. So if you're wired to 9 because you're trying, all these strategies to get work done and you're parenting and you're like sandwiched and you have no breaks, then you're then waiting for that chunk of time before you go to bed at night to get your downtime. Then you're pushing your sleep back to too late. And then, you wake up tired because you have to get up early the next day in most cases, right? So in these kind of scenarios. So when you go for a treatment during the day, you're more likely to have a better sleep. So even if you're using that to help you reset so that you can start to go to bed earlier, and then maybe have a protected time in the morning for your downtime alone, so that you're not then pushing the nighttime sleep and your body eventually will wake up a little earlier. First,
Well,
give yourself more time of sleep because guess what? If you don't, you get sick and
yeah.
then you have forced rest.
Yes, and I love this because here's the thing too. I mean, we need to add in that when you get better sleep, it actually helps with your metabolism. And
Yes.
you want to speak to that about the ghrelin and all that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when you are not sleeping efficiently, then or like you might be lying in bed and resting, but if it's not like maybe you've got like one of those fancy watches that tracks your movement and it's saying, you're only getting 4 out of 7 or 8 that actual non-REM deep sleep, your hormones are going to be out of whack. Ghrelin makes us very hungry and it gets secreted more when you have a poor sleep. So it's really hard to maintain a healthy, balanced living during the day if you're like hungry all the time. And then leptin, the hormone of satiety, making you feel full, that goes down when you haven't had a good sleep. So if you're building in calm and excitement for relaxation and you're feeling more, in this kind of Zen place, which doesn't mean you're like that all the time. Like, just like when I jumped into this podcast, I was doing a bunch of things. I was all excited. I'm starting to like ground myself as we speak, like it takes, it takes a few treatments. It's not something you're going to have like, overnight. And actually maybe talk to that because right now it's the end of the year and a lot of people haven't even used their health insurance and they have insurance for massage and acupuncture.
Oh my
Use
gosh,
it,
yes. Yeah, no,
right?
it's so true. We get so many people ask me, it's like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't used it all year," and now they like cram it in like a test, you know?
Right.
So then it's like, "Okay, let's get some in." It's like, well, it'd be even better and more efficient and effective if you just spread it through the year. But
Of
I get it.
course, but
We
it's
get the
nice to like if you're gonna, a time that's nuts. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I'm excited for holiday season," but it's always the time when everyone's wrapping up their finances for the year and they're, if they're accountants, they're doing, just various every profession's a little bit busy at this time, and so are practitioners. So because everyone's trying to use up their health insurance, it's better if you get booked in, use it up, and then get it started now rather than waiting for the new year because you start to create these healthy habits. And these are all strategies that will help you so that you are maintaining a healthy weight because you get better sleep. You start to reprogram yourself for earlier bedtime potentially. And if not, at least more sleep and more relaxed sleep. And your nervous system is allowing you to not run high on cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that will make you gain belly weight. So one of the things that we look at when we're, seeing patients for weight loss is like, how are you sleeping and how are your stress levels? People who test themselves with, prick their sugar levels because let's say they're diabetic or they're pre-diabetic trying to prevent type 2 diabetes, they'll notice that their sugar levels are more erratic when they are stressed as well as when they're premenstrual. So trying to make sure you're regulating your stress so that your periods are more better, like they are more regulated and your hormones are more in balance. And then you don't crave as much even when you're premenstrual.
right.
And then food wise, like don't have food in your house
Yeah.
that is going to stress your willpower. Like don't have the cookies that you want to eat in the house. That's helpful,
Yes,
right?
100%, right, yeah, like, don't make it readily available. So I just wanna go back for a second with regards to sleep. I don't want anybody to feel bad about not sleeping enough because there are times and certain transitions in life when you just actually cannot help but have less amount of sleep. So, for example, if you are, working on deadlines and you're burning the candle at no at both ends because you have to sleep later, like writing a book. Uh, and or, like, if you have a kid, like, infant, obviously, you're gonna be not sleeping as well as we would like for anyone to. So, it's not about beating yourself up, it's like, so despite that, what can we do? Can we change our habits? Can we actually maybe go to sleep 15 minutes earlier to start? Can we, when we're not getting enough sleep because something Oh, for example, my dog woke me up in the middle of the night last night. So it's like, you know what? Can I take 10 minutes during the day and lie down, set an alarm so I can just be quiet? Not necessarily with the aim to sleep, but at least just calm that mind, that restful, quiet time can help to reset, right? So don't think that you have to be every single day, 365 days a year, that you have to sleep well in order to be healthier. There's
Oh,
different
yeah.
times,
My
different
sleep's not
transitions.
perfect.
No
No, I
one's
think
is.
people need to know the realistic side of things. I mean, I was up with my daughter with fevers, right? So she had fevers a couple of weeks ago, and kids are up during the night, and that's normal. So when you see things on Instagram, you see the happy side and all the amazing, lovely display of parenting and pictures. It's really important to know that balance doesn't mean perfection. It just means you are in control of finding your balance, and you need to find it in a way that's healthy and it serves you best. So it doesn't mean that life's perfect. So I think that's I hear that from couples. A lot of people will go on Instagram and social media, and they'll come to me as a patient and they'll be like, my partner thinks that, life is just so miserable, and why aren't we like the people on Instagram? And so I'm like, wow, yeah, we have to bring it down a notch, right? We also have to be realistic about what you can and can't do and how many hours there are in a day. So I think you need to prioritize. And I always feel like the foundation needs to be there, the backbone of like good sleeps if you have the ability to, or if you don't, within the 5-hour window you have, or in a 24-hour window, and you're a new mom, aim for 6 hours within that time, tag team, right? So there's going to be a lot of phases in your life where it's going to be chaotic. Maybe you're starting a business. That's nuts. It could be 3 years, but if you have some kind of strength training in there and you are building in downtime and you're getting healthcare, visits for massage, you're having a nap during your massage, or maybe you're talking to your naturopathic doctor on the phone while you're walking and talking about your food. So you find multitasking strategies so that you can still stay healthy and not be run down all the time.
That's great. I love that. And again, even for work, if it's doable, because a lot of people are still working virtually, can you take some meetings going for a little walk or doing a little stretch? Obviously, if you're doing an actual physical presentation, that's not going to be feasible. But I don't imagine you're presenting 24/7. So, where can you take those calls where you can actually be in motion? Now, that said, this whole podcast is surrounding this piece about how not to gain weight. So have you noticed that we haven't even really touched upon food very much? Isn't that cool? Because that's a reality, right?
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing is that everything in your life will impact your food choices. So that from the stress to the sleep to, happiness, right? So food is medicine, but a
Mhm.
lot of people use it as their fun or like we said, for stress management. It's like where they just force it in because they know they need calories just to keep going, and they don't realize it's, nutrient empty, calorically dense foods. They'll be like, I hardly eat anything in a day. But then we look at what they're eating, and that food may be more calories than a plate of a balanced meal. So in our next podcast, let's jump into what to eat during the holidays, how to make healthy food choices, if
And
that
drink.
makes sense. And
And drink.
drink, yes, like
Right?
how to
Let's not
manage
forget that piece. That's a
Mhm.
big part of it. So
Yes.
yes, and if you like this episode, and if you want more information or just want to book with us at Alive, just reach out to us. And our Instagram is at Alive Holistic Health Clinic. Okay, so we'll see you guys real soon.